I've been cracking down on my job fair. Uh,
Oh, right, you're at school.
yes, not all of us have graduated yet,
I
Sam.
keep forgetting that. I apologize.
I'm not quite a big boy yet.
Well, you were the one always working before, so I was just.
How the tables have turned. Well, I guess you aren't.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Wait, are you coming up to the job fair though?
Yeah, I am.
Hey,
I
we
am.
should grab dinner or something.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about staying, but I'm thinking I'm just gonna drive home every evening, or drive home the one evening because it'd be much easier to get ready at home than to sleep on your floor and then get ready.
That is fair enough. Ooh, actually, give me. Let's not start quite yet. I'm gonna call.
All
Sorry
right.
about that.
Well, you're good. I just have to entertain no one while you take that then.
Okay, good.
So how's everybody doing? I realize there's probably nobody watching right now. But this is going to be real fun to listen to in the VOD, I know.
No. I'll be around. I'll be around. I just wanted to double
You can
check.
listen into Cooper's call.
Right. I do not. That's why I was double checking just to make sure I didn't plan anything that week.
Well, I am going to continue talking over this because for some reason Cooper has it so we can actually hear who he's talking to. I don't know why he would ever speak to somebody on speakerphone while he's live on Twitch. But I'm going to just give a constant barrage to try and go over top of that so you can't discern what the heck is being said because he's a big dum-dum. Just for anyone showing up a bit early, this is the 10-minute little shtick we do at the beginning where we just chat. Usually it's a nice little bonding time for Cooper and I, but he decided to step away and take a call like a jerkwad today. We're listening to Hawaii Part 2 today.
Well, that's.
Make sure
They
my
probably won't let you
phone
take
doesn't start
those,
yelling at me.
Uh,
Hawaii Part 2, which was, I'll go into this more, of course, when we actually get into it, but just for the sake of filling airwaves, it was an album I discovered and suggested not too long ago, because
that's what I was saying.
none of the suggestions really leapt out to me, although I think next weekend we should do that unless Cooper has one he really is looking forward to doing. And it looks like he actually tweeted the correct thing. Pardon me, this time. I don't have a Twitter. I am not a fan of social media all that much. But judging by the little tweet box we have under our Twitch, we stream this live if you're listening to the VOD. I know this is probably awkward and very out of character for podcasts to just have some rando speak to you for minutes on end while his co-host is chatting away with someone on the phone. But we stream this live on Twitch every week, 8 p.m. Sunday if we can. Otherwise, sometimes it's on Monday. Sometimes we just don't do it at all if we're both busy. But it sounds like...
When has that ever happened?
Sounds like Cooper's coming back. I just had to speak for like 3 minutes straight because you were on speakerphone for some reason, like a dumbass.
Oh, sorry. I didn't. I thought I was in the other room. I didn't realize that I was picking that up.
It was picking that up. I had to speak.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's a lot better microphone than I realized.
Hopefully there was nothing, because I stayed quiet for about a minute or two, and then I realized, I can actually understand what that dude's saying. I should probably start talking.
Okay, well.
There was nothing sensitive, was there?
No.
Okay.
Just talking about families coming up for Family Day weekend.
Oh,
we're just
right.
planning.
You're at school. We just had this conversation.
Yeah, no. So got the dates for that now.
Hmm.
All right.
You been doing anything fun this week? Or past 2 weeks? It's been a bit since we talked.
I mean, Labor Day weekend. Went down to old.
Already talked about that.
Yeah, went down to old Magdon, Indiana this last week. Not too much. Just been preparing for a job fair, so that's been its own joys, its own reward.
I've got just bent down here. I've got some really, really thick, heavy gray stationery that I'm going to print my resume on for that.
Ooh.
I'm pretty psyched about that. I actually had a surprise interview on Thursday, I think it was.
Ooh, with what company?
I won't say on the air, but it was NASA contractor.
Oh.
So I'm hoping, and they were doing several at once. So I'm hoping, interviewing for several at once. That is. Hopefully, they will give me one of them, especially since they said one of them desperately needed to be filled. So.
Hey, well, desperation will work to your advantage then.
Right, but it was desperation, and NASA wanted someone of a higher. Keep bumping my mic. Someone of a higher level, and the company had just talked him down. So.
Yeah, well, hey, interview's a good stepping stone.
Yep,
that's for sure.
I've been prepping all my materials as well for that. I didn't register, but screw that. I don't care.
Well, you still can. You can grab a name tag too. They're all nice and printed.
I don't know if I need one.
It takes like 5 minutes. It might be worth it.
Well, registration's closed for one.
Oh, well then. They'll take more than 5 minutes then.
Yeah. But maybe I should get a name tag.
Yeah, I think they're handing them out at the fair, but...
I feel like that's stupid. I don't know.
Name tags?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to introduce myself anyway. Why do you need to know who I am before I open my mouth?
Sam's kind of a hard name to remember, so you know. In case they forget during conversation.
Plus, I'm going to be all spiffy anyway, so.
Spiffy.
Wearing a suit.
Hey, same. Gotta sell myself.
Business casual in quotations.
No, you should wear a suit. You have to overdress. Mm-hmm. Some of the older types take it as a sign of respect.
Well, I was going to say it's because other people overdress. So then you look underdressed.
Hey, I mean, it can't hurt.
Yeah.
Better to overdress than to underdress.
Yeah. Well, you want to launch into this?
Yeah,
it's been a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's been a hot second. So let's dig right in.
And I'm going to have to quickly turn off a lot of things because I completely forgot to do that beforehand. But don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I can kick us off. So hey guys, welcome back. So took a week off for Labor Day weekend, but we are back in action with a new album. One you may not have heard before. This one's a little more underground scene. It's called Hawaii Part 2 by Miracle Musical. Now I know what you're probably thinking. I was thinking the same thing. Why reviewing Part 2 instead of Part 1? And that is because Part 1 does not exist. This is just the name of the name of the album. There is no Part 1. Seems a little strange and whimsical, but you'll come to find that this album itself is rather strange and whimsical, so it's actually rather fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not have heard of Miracle Musical, but that's because they are. This is their only project. So.
Yep, and I'll do a quick little history. Miracle Musical actually doesn't even have their own Wikipedia page. Is how small this is. Miracle Musical is an offshoot of Tally Hall, a band. I was gonna throw a genre in there, but they call themselves Fabaloo genre, in an effort to not let their music be defined by any particular genres.
One of those.
Yeah. So this is an offshoot of Tally Hall, and it is Holly. Let me see if I can Joe Holly, and that's he pulled a couple of the other guys from that band together to make Miracle Musical as like a little side project when they weren't doing anything. And they released one album after Tally Hall went on hiatus in 2011. So I'm not sure they're really on hiatus so much as broken up.
Oh, have they not released anything since then?
Not released anything since 2011, no.
Oh, so really this is kind of their almost their swan song.
Yeah, well, this is this isn't all of Tally Hall. This is under a different name. This is Miracle Musical. This is just Joe Hawley, and then I think he got a couple other guys to help, and some new people to help as well. So Miracle Musical released this and only one album in 2012, and then nothing since, as far as I can tell, because it is very hard to find information online about them. Joe Hawley, I believe I'm saying that right. It's Hawley. Holly.
Yeah, I think it's Holly.
Was the guitarist for Tally Hall, and then released this, and it kind of just jumps all over the place, very much like the first band he was in. It's very out there.
Quite the melting pot of genres.
This came to me while I was listening to Spotify Discover Weekly. And
a good resource.
Yes, I will go into my thought process listening to this album for the first time, because I've listened to it many, many times since then, which is why I suggested, oh hey, I've been listening to this album like at least once a day. Why don't we review this one?
Yeah, Sam threw the suggestion out, and I'd never heard of them, so I figured, what the hey. And going into this with zero background is quite the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely this album that'll take you by surprise in more ways than one.
For sure. Well, let's jump into track number 1 then. Introduction to the Show.
Yeah, and just to touch on the title actually for a bit. Introduction to the Show is a very apt opening track title, since Miracle Musical is it's just that. This album's very theatrical overall. It's got a lot of trademarks. I like to think of like Broadway musicals in general, kind of these like reoccurring musical motifs, as well as the vocal performances in particular are very, I don't want to say over the top, but certainly the kind of hamming it up a bit. And this album opening is very theatrical itself, with a soft piano kind of playing the main motif of the album, then immediately followed into this kind of a cappella section that sets the mood, almost like the curtains are rising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this album won me over. This wasn't the first song I heard. That's the second song. I'll get to that. But I think the album won me over when it used French horn, whistling, and piano to start the album. I love me some horn and non-traditional instruments. And then it launches into a cappella kind of style singing with a noise filter to make it seem old. And of course, they threw in some nice wind sound effects in the background, which always is nice to round out the sound.
They're not the last of the sound effects on this album either.
It is not. And this and track number 2 are very similar, and then nothing else. So if you haven't, I suggest listening to this, maybe not that anyone's actually watching this live right now, but pausing and going to listen to the album, or at least one song at a time, and then coming back to listen to this, because you're going to get some whiplash, and it's interesting to hear commentary from what others think after each of the songs, for sure. Introduction to the show is pretty dang short. Just kind of the intro.
Yeah, it's basically the intro, but I think it kind of sets you up well. It kind of reminds me of, you remember the old Disney cartoons like Sleeping Beauty or like Cinderella, the fairy book ones?
Mm-hmm.
They'd always start with like this credit sequence. It always had like this very, this choir and soaring strings that kind of sang the story, giving the background to it.
Mm-hmm.
This gave me the feel of this like classic Disney opening.
Yeah, very, very old school feeling, kind
like
of
old Hollywood. Yeah.
And that definitely continues into track number 2, Isle Unto Itself. Thyself. You mistyped this on the document.
Sorry, I meant to put thyself. Isle Unto Thyself. Yeah, and I think it kind of carries the momentum of Intro to the Show. It's a very glittery song, um, almost blindingly so. Um, but it definitely introduces like some more rock elements into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the things that's surprisingly prevalent on this album is this kind of drum set percussion, very energetic drum set percussion.
And not a drum kit, an actual drum set.
Yeah, like you can tell this is like someone playing live. And it really adds this unique energy to a lot of the songs. A lot of them, especially nowadays when you have more synth or electronic oriented albums, it's usually a drum kit on loop, or percussion's really pushed to like just keeping the beat, kind of being in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Here, the percussion is very forward facing. It very much is in your face, and it just drives that energy forward.
And this was the theme of my review is going to be my experience listening to it the first time, and then what I got from it from the subsequent probably 20 or so listens afterwards. This was the first song that popped up, so it's very old school, as we said with the introduction to the show. This is after the fact, but this album is absolutely awful at transitioning between songs. It feels like they really want to, and then they don't try at the start of the next one. Like there was a beautiful transition at the end of Introduction to the Show, and then Isle Unto Thyself it changes keys, changes instruments, and it's very awkward.
But this struck me as kind of intentional. This album's like it's like almost like made to be a grab bag.
I will say I agree that none of the songs really match, and it's kind of just a grab bag, so to say. But it seems like it was really, some of the songs were written to flow into something, and then they didn't. And there's a pretty constant theme of the song just abruptly cutting off, which will culminate in, I think I'm actually going to play the end of the last song on stream, because you just need to hear it to understand.
It's difficult to explain.
Yeah.
That also struck me when I was there.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So this was the song that popped up in my Discover Weekly, and I really liked the guy's singing style. It reminded me of Sinatra. It's not really Sinatra-esque, but it was kind of that old school vibrato style.
I kind of found it like Sinatra if done by like Panic at the Disco almost. It's got that style, but the vocal like what is it, like the actual character of it is a lot more Planet at the Disco, almost kind of Owl City type.
Yeah, I guess Planet at the Disco would definitely be closer, and it's a little more out there because it brings in that electronic effect to the voice, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the voice is pretty consistently throughout the album having at least a slight reverb effect on it, if not full on, almost like vocaloiding it. I can only think of really one song where the voice is mostly untouched, and that's near the very end of the album.
Yeah, and it's a really nice effect. It's not overdone. It's kind of tastefully done. There's the they kind of do it after the chorus. It's hard to explain. I didn't really feel like there is a chorus in this one, so yeah, they throw the vocal coder in after the chorus, and they kind of throw in some electronic music underneath of it, and then the end of the song hits, and this is kind of a theme throughout every song on the entire album. The last minute, it's like he wants to do a different song. He just kind of changes. This one is especially guilty. It's very out of place. It's the electronic voice, but it's way slowed down. There's very different backing music, and it's not really having to do with anything that he was singing about before. So it's very strange.
It's kind of like it's like a space marching chant or something.
Yeah, it's extremely odd. And then at the very end, there's some rising, I don't know what to call it. It's just rising noise. But not like static. How would you describe it, Coop?
It's kind of the way I describe it is kind of like rising like synth, kind of like if you have ever seen like 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Hmm.
kind of like that kind of almost like undertone that's constantly like coming up. It's a difficult to describe in words, but yeah, just think of kind of like synth like getting more and more progressively louder, and then kind of cutting off into the next song.
Yeah, and I swear I've heard that last little bit on an ELO album. that's straight out of their book, so that kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, wait, did I accidentally switch songs here or something?
Nothing that's not it hasn't been unseen in different electronic albums as well. And it actually does kind of help lead a little bit into the next song. You're saying transitions weren't super good, but at least at the very least, it helps work into Black Rainbows pretty well.
And that is track number 3, Black Rainbows.
Black Rainbows.
Black.
So I was actually looking into the backgrounds for some of these songs. And this one's actually interesting because you get these very deep, almost like Gregorian chants playing in the background that really are unintelligible. But I looked it up, and apparently it's actually the chants are in Hawaiian. And they're literally just chanting the colors of the rainbow.
Huh. Interesting.
Thus the name, I guess, Black Rainbow.
And also Hawaii Part 2. Oh, I misspelled Hawaii. Yeah. Dang it. You didn't tell me, Cooper.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that's how you spell Hawaii.
Missed an A. All right, it's fixed now.
No, and this one's also a very peculiar song. It's got this, like... Would you agree with when I say, like, almost like a desert vibe?
I said Egyptian. There were some very stereotypically Egyptian themes in there.
It's desert vibe, but kind of mixed with this really heavy bass synth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, paired with this Hawaiian, like, very deep chanting lyrics going on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They're weird, but they all kind of fit together.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say put yourself in my shoes, although if you've listened to this album, you've been in my shoes, you hear the previous song and think, oh, I would like to hear more. This shows up on your Spotify discovery. You're like, oh, that was a kind of nice, kind of old school kind of song. Let's listen to some more. And then this comes on. It's very different.
It's a complete change of pace.
But it's still pretty good. I really did enjoy, it was very stereotypical Egyptian music themes, or like you said, desert. But they're nice, and plus the woman that's singing has a very, very good voice.
Yeah,
and then
female vocals show up a couple times on this album, and I'm not sure if it's the same person each time, but they're all killer.
Yeah, whoever it is phenomenal every single time.
Her name is Maddie Diaz.
Is she in anything else? Because I could have sworn that I've heard her sing somewhere else.
She's a singer-songwriter, but I'm not familiar with any of her work.
I'll have to look her up. So I didn't know what to call the chanting in the background, but it has a really interesting effect to it, kind of like throat singing or something. And it really rounds out the whole thing, you know? Even though you can't understand what they're saying, since I don't speak Hawaiian. And then it just
only
ends.
We knew someone who did.
Yeah. And then it just ends.
Yeah, this one's definitely a shorter one. It's only 2 minutes long.
Yeah, and just ending is a theme that we are going to see carried out for the rest of the album, sadly.
Now, interesting fact. So I was looking up the lyrics for it, and that's where I found out it was Hawaiian lyrics. Also, apparently, according to what was his name again? The guy who made the album?
Joe Hawley.
The inspiration for the main melody of this song was actually the Hawaii 5-0 theme.
Really?
You know, that da 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 da.
Oh crap! Now that you said that, I'm not going to be able to hear anything else.
Because the whole time I was listening to it, I'm like, this is vaguely familiar. It was the Hawaii 5-0 thing, kind of.
Cooper, what'd you do? I liked this song before.
I still like it after knowing that. It just makes it kind of funnier that it's just taken that and turned into kind of this like mystic Egyptian like Hawaiian mix.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to listen to it again after this and see if I can listen to it the same way again.
You will not be able to.
Nope.
I've ruined it forever.
Thanks. All right. Jump into track number 4 then, if you're ready.
I am.
White Ball.
Oh, we had black windows. Now we got white ball.
And this one is a lot more laid back, like Isle Unto Thyself. but even less electronic. Starts with some strings. Got a very nice, good start to the song. It's a duet. We get the woman back again. I can't remember what her name was.
Diaz.
Diaz.
Actually, this one is.
Oh, is it someone else?
This one's Stephanie Koenig. Yeah, so it actually is different vocals.
This was the one I could have sworn I heard. I knew before, but I'm not sure. And then the duet's very beautiful. You know, their vocal styles mesh pretty dang well. Hers is almost cartoonish, I wanted to say. Did you get that vibe?
Maybe not but definitely like over the top.
Maybe theatrical is what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, which is kind of what the musical, vocals and then, are going for this entire album.
Yeah, just as the duet's getting like, it's really nice. Everything, there's strings. Yes, some French style accordion. That's what I needed.
I loved it when that entered in.
It took a lot away from the song for me. It was not good. I mean,
I think
it's well done, but it was just like, it's very out of place.
I don't think it's out of. I think at least after the first 3 songs, you're kind of built an expectation of it kind of having some left field moments. I think the accordions paired with the strings, and then having that kind of like nice bass line playing underneath all of it. Surprisingly, all these odd pairings really pair well together. So some talent with the instrumentation under here, and I think it adds a lot of character to the song White Ball.
See, I'm fine with the accordion. It's just the super stereotypical French style that they chose to go with is very not good for the style of the song. Accordion, fine. Sounds great. But the weird French licks that they do, kind of weird. And then they launch into a key change kind of midway through the song, but they let the vocalist lead it, which is kind of awkward. It kind of disrupts the rhythm of the song a bit, since there's really no key change in the bass line. And then, while I would argue this is one of the more kind of low-key songs on the album, with not much going for it, the vocal line really drives the melody, while the rest of the song just kind of lies there. So kind of boring song, but the 2 singers are absolutely phenomenal and just back-breakingly carry this song for the entirety of it.
Oh, I've got to disagree with you on this one, Sam.
Really?
I mean, I agree with you on the singers. I think they did a very nice job here. But I think the instrumentation here is very colorful. Because it just starts with just the males and the female vocals singing over the violins. And each time it builds on with some of the bass and the accordion. And then the drum line hits and it really kicks off. I think it adds a lot of color to the song. It's got a good progression. And I think it, I mean, the ending kind of stretches on a little bit with them just kind of repeating the phrase impossible bliss over and over again. But I think they all pair together very well and in a very refreshing way. Like, obviously, you don't get too many accordion and violin-led songs.
Yeah.
Paired with some pretty stellar vocals. So I thought it led to a very unique and excellent experience, honestly.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you there, because they do a great job throughout the rest of the album from this point on of kind of building up throughout the song, throwing something new in after every chorus to kind of keep it fresh. But this one, they start with the strings, they throw in the accordion, which kind of pops back in and out, and then there's drum kit, and there's not really enough there for me, I think. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying there's nothing crazy going on. I would say the French style accordion's crazy, but I don't know, it's missing that je ne sais quoi.
Speaking of French.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can understand how this might not be your favorite, but for me, it really clicked. I think its laid back tone, kind of with its unique instrumentation, really help carry this song all the way through. At least for me.
Well, we'll agree to disagree then.
Never. But
it is a good song. I think we just are on the same side arguing different topics.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say there's at least from my few listens, there's not a bad song in this album. Well, maybe there's bad sections of songs. I don't think there's any solely bad songs on this album.
Well, we'll get to that.
There's one in particular I'm not a fan of, but
Same.
yeah, we will.
Jumping to track number 5 then. Murders.
Murderers.
And again, this one comes out of left field a little bit. It starts with a very, very bass-boosted piano with some pretty monotone singing. And that sounds like it would be bad, but oh boy, it's quite the song.
You mentioned the piano, and this is, I'm not sure what effect they were like layering onto it, but especially as the song goes on, it's got this very distorted, almost time to give it like a honky tonk, like old soundy quality to it, which it definitely is a very unique character to, instead of being a very crisp piano, it's a very intentionally like disrupted. And then of course it's paired with, like you said, this kind of deep, monotone, ominous vocals. So it's definitely a darker song that's we haven't seen on this album so far. It's been so far the album's been very glitzy and glamoury, and this one definitely kind of takes it down.
Crisp, clean, and no caffeine, as you would say, right, Cooper?
This one's not crisp and clean and no caffeine. This one's like this has a lot of caffeine in it. This is like Dr. Pepper, right?
With herbs and spices.
Herbs and Dr. Pepper's 23 herbs and spices. Yes,
exactly. So the piano kind of pounds out some pretty simple melodies until the chorus, which is fine. It's something about that really simple melodic hook gets me in this one though. I don't know what it is. And then there's like they throw in a sound in the first chorus that's like knocking out the tune on wood, like to the beat.
Yeah,
that's
I picked that up
nice.
too. It's got some. This definitely has some more interesting. This whole album has interesting instrumentation. It's like later in the song too, a harp. I want to say
that's what I thought as well.
I wasn't certain. It was definitely a string
was
instrument of some kind, but it definitely entered in with like this electric guitar going on underneath it, which is not pairing. This almost struck me as like a like in a musical, like a villain song or some sort of kind of nefarious, theatrical kind of high energy song going on there. And obviously it's called Murders, so it's definitely got that dark theme kind of from the offset.
Yeah. It's kind of mimicked in the vocal line, which again, I didn't really listen to what they were saying in most of these songs, but you pick up some dark themes kind of.
Yeah, I don't think the lyrics are as important on this album. I read through a couple.
They don't really mean anything, do they?
I think this is a case of kind of like the words eliciting emotion than actually like the words themselves carrying the meaning, This was just going for ominous. So, it's talking about murderers, talking about like being in the woods.
I was in the forest looking to find the trees, but none were there.
Exactly. So what's that mean? Not sure. But definitely that's the character of the song overall.
And like I was saying in the last one, this one, very nice progression. The vocal line has some really interesting jumps in the chorus to kind of show off his range. After the first chorus, there's the electric guitar with the bass boosted piano, which is very nice. The electric guitar is playing the vocal line, kind of in a different way to add some nice variation. And then after the next chorus, they throw in some strings to spice it up and keep it even more fresh. So it's constantly just building on itself and not really losing any momentum. It's very nice. Until 2:45.
Until the very end. Much like how Isle Onto itself had like a completely different tonal shift in the march. This one kind of enters into a almost kind of somber, jazzy refrain, I want to say.
I wouldn't say it's the same as Isle Unto Thyself, because this one actually still kind of keeps with the themes. It's just a very abrupt shift.
Right.
It changes to they strip back the bass boosting and it's very simple, just tinkly piano style. Or maybe not tinkly, but soft. Before bringing back bits of the bass boosted piano, and they kind of bass boost the vocalist instead on this part.
It becomes very distorted.
It keeps many of the same themes though, which is nice. It kind of tiny bit off-putting with the abrupt change, but it ends the song in a very interesting way, kind of like I was saying before, keeping the whole thing fresh until it just cuts out.
as as is tradition on this album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did like this ending as well. I think it really switched up the formula with this song enough to kind of make you like. I kind of wish the whole song was more like the ending than the beginning half.
I don't know. I think part of the charm was just being part of the whole, you know?
Which I guess you might say is kind of sums this album up.
Yeah. Jumping to track number 6, then. Cooper, why don't you go ahead and please use
I would...
No, not the English translation, please. Please do the proper pronunciation.
Oh, yes. Let me... Chiyu Shutishon no Ribivu. 7, which means Space Station 7 in Japanese.
Yeah, I'm glad copy and paste works because I do not have any of those symbols but 7 on my keyboard.
Yes, the titles in Japanese characters.
Yeah.
In case you didn't get that from my gross pronunciation.
So, I had some issues with this one.
This one, even on such a weird album, this one's still kind of an odd duck.
And it's not an odd duck because it's odd or sung in, I think, Japanese and French. Am I right?
Yes, it's French and Japanese.
I knew it switches to French around the 2-minute mark, but I don't speak French or Japanese, so I couldn't tell. I took, you think I would, I took like 5 years of French, but United States school system, terrible at teaching languages. The start sounds like a bad composition you would make on a cheap music program. Like, normally I love horns, but holy crap, is it corny and terrible? I don't know.
Oh, these are definitely some like free trial beat maker horns.
Yeah,
at the beginning,
it's not good. And then I like the acoustic guitar and the wood scraper block. That's a nice mix there. Haven't heard any acoustic guitar on the album so far, and that with the piano would have been a good mix. And I don't speak Japanese, so I have no clue what's being said. But it's kind of nice. I don't know, the melody of the vocal line is very, very simple and repetitive. Even when they do change it up, they don't change much up. And the opening of the song just keeps coming back, and it's really bad. Stop playing that.
The horns are definitely a little crisper than you would imagine they should be, which is weird since they had a French horn at the very beginning of the album, and that was that was nice. So I'm not quite sure why they specifically went for this change of style.
Well, I think it might be actual instruments playing. It's just the instrumentation or the music that they're playing is bad. It's a very cheap rising note sequence, da 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 da, just over and over again. It sounds so cheap, especially when there's nothing else in the horn.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's hard to describe exactly because it's like you were saying, it's kind of this Japanese lyrics being crooned over like a mellow bass and acoustic beat, and then like these horns would just kind of blast in every now and then on the chorus. It's hard to categorize exactly what this song is.
Bad.
I wouldn't say it's. I didn't dislike it.
I did.
At least as far as you did. Obviously, I think your band background makes you dislike the horns more than the average listener.
Yeah, I think that was what threw me out of it the most.
I mean, even as someone who's not too big into horns, I could tell they were a little crisper than your usual punch, maybe a little overripe.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, much like various songs have done so far, it switches to French, and the melody itself kind of switches as well.
Yeah, do a nice complete change in melody at the 2-minute mark.
Which is accompanied by the language shift. Also, there's a little a little melodic sequence in here that you will not hear the last of. Same with introduction to the show. These are all incorporated later in the album, which I think is neat.
Yeah, I felt like there wasn't too much going on in this one in terms of musical variation and vocal variation anyway, which made it fall really flat, in addition to the god-awful horns.
I think it was the kind of French and Japanese mix were interesting, at least in the idea. But I'll have to agree that I'm not too sold on this song overall.
Idea was promising, execution left quite a bit to be desired. Jumping to track number 7, then, if you're ready, Cooper.
Oh yeah, let's go for it.
The Mind Electric.
Maybe it's rewind time, because as far as I can tell, the entire first half of this song, and this is a 6-minute song, mind you, so this is 3 minutes, is the back half of the song played backwards. So at the 250 mark, it kind of reaches the end of the backwards part of the song, and then switches to being the forward part of the song. So they took a single song and then reversed it and made that the first half of the song, if that makes any sense.
So you were close. The song is about 6:13, if I remember correctly, and the first 2 minutes and 45 seconds are entirely backwards. Well, at least the main vocal line was reversed. You'll occasionally hear things that are played forward, which later, when the song flips, will be played backwards, but they'll be a lot harder to pick up due to the vocal line being so prominent. But it flips at 2 minutes 45. So that means
it's 250, same difference.
So that means somewhere along the way they add some time. Unless I'm terrible at math.
Oh man, that's kind of have you ever this is a little side tangent, but have you ever read the book House of Leaves?
I have not.
It's that reminded me of that because it's a horror story about a house that is the guy's measuring like the house to like set up some furniture. He keeps measuring it with a tape measure, and he finds that the house is actually bigger by like several inches on the inside than it is on the outside. Like drives him crazy. That's what that reminded me of. Like, where are the inches coming from?
And I don't know. I honestly cannot tell where they add things because the end of both is the same. It's got to be somewhere in the middle where you wouldn't notice it. So technically, if you're going to listen to this song, just jump to 245. You're not missing much.
Listening to an entire song backwards is about as enjoyable as it sounds.
Yeah.
Which is to say, not much.
But once we get to 245 and anything goes forward, it is a spicy song. It's very good. It
kind of makes me regret that they did the backwards section at all. I guess it adds to the character of the song, but
yes.
3 minutes of backwards music is a lot of backwards music.
Yeah. So the melody of the vocals are very good and also extremely familiar for some reason. Did you get that feeling?
I feel like I've heard of them somewhere before. They I can't quite pin the melody. It has a very I don't know how to phrase it. This is a lot of this album, so I don't know how to phrase it.
It almost gave me like I was thinking maybe it was a melody to a Christmas song. I couldn't tell.
It definitely had like a holiday greetings kind of melody going on with it.
I swear I've heard this, but maybe you didn't see anything online about that when you were looking up this one?
No, this one was just the only notes on this one were like it goes backwards in the first half. I'm like, well, yeah,
very helpful.
But the vocals are also this very extremely distorted, like I said, like Vocaloid type distorted for a lot of the song, which adds a very interesting effect to it.
I believe the word you're looking for there is vocoder, Cooper. Vocaloid is the Japanese hologram musical performance.
Those are basically the same thing. I mean, this album's half in Japanese.
I would say half.
Oh, there's Japanese on the cover.
Okay, fair enough. You got me there. So this one tells a story. It seems to be a kid who is going crazy. He gets sent to the insane asylum. Just kind of him not knowing. What is it? There's a really good line. Doctor, I can't tell if I'm not me. Something like that.
I guess that would explain the backwards section.
Yeah.
Make you feel like you're going crazy.
So it's more of the feeling that the words give rather than the actual words, but this one has a little bit more substance than the other ones we've listened to so far.
At least a little bit of a story.
Yeah. I really love the constant use of piano. The piano is wonderful throughout this whole album, but this one it really shines.
Oh yeah, I'm not quite sure who did the piano on this album, but they did a wonderful job. I assume it's probably
very well performed. and it sounds like it's on an actual grand piano or some sort as well, rather than a board with the grand piano setting. And then oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just adding on to the fact that this album's a very interesting mix of like classical instrument performance, like the percussion, the piano, mixed with this very synthetic, like the vocals and like the synth, which you don't see a lot of. Usually, it's one or the other.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why this popped up in my Discover Weekly. I'd never listened to any music like that at all.
I can't think of one band that has utilized
something that's somewhat orchestral but also electric. Nothing's ringing a bell.
Yeah, we'll shine some light on it later.
Yeah. But I have complained throughout this entire podcast so far about the last minute, literally, in the last minute, changing the song. But in this one, I love it. It's great, phenomenal.
Good. I was worried you were about to say that you didn't like it, because I really like the last minute of the song as well.
I've listened to the song several times just for the last bit. Good lyrics, effects, driving bass, synth, and it ends with that melody line I really like from the beginning. And then it ends abruptly, of course, but on this one it works perfectly. This is a wonderful song, minus maybe 2.5 minutes at the start.
It's the second half of this song is great. Just start at the 2:45 mark and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, anytime I go to listen to the song, I just click 2:45 and go from there, because I am not listening to the whole backwards section. It's like I know what's coming. The backwards effect is lost on me at this point. I just want to listen to the song.
Yeah, frankly, they should have just made it 2 songs, but I guess that was the point.
Listening to it for the first time, artistic value, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, like you were saying, last minute of the song is killer. This electro style kicks and percussion pop in with some like killer keyboard work. It really is a sight to behold. So yeah, listen to this song certainly.
Oh yeah, if you listen to nothing else on this album, choose this one. It's a very nice kind of...
I wouldn't say that. But listen, this is definitely one of them that you should listen to.
One of the better songs on the album, yes. Jumping to track number 8 then. Get ready, put your neck brace on. There's a bit of whiplash.
This one actually made me laugh out loud when it hit. Because I thought, well, they've touched on what? They've done a lot of electronic. They've done like kind of this classical singing. They've done pop. They've done like alternative rock. Well, the only genre they haven't touched on is hip hop. And then, of course,
they do.
we have an electro rap song that just comes bursting into the scene 8 songs into this this very poppy alternative album.
I was not ready for this.
I was not ready for this.
I even warned you. I didn't say what it was, but I said get ready for whiplash. And
you were correct. Though, let's see, the rapper on this song is Charlene K. No, sorry, that's the singer. The rapper on the song is Sean Max.
Never heard of him.
Haven't heard of him either, but I didn't dislike his flow.
No, he was very good. Yeah, I liked him.
I mean, he's not like it wasn't anything groundbreaking lyrically or like rapping wise, but Left Turn.
Yeah,
and that you're really taken aback by it.
It certainly fit with the album as well. Underneath the rap, they bring. I'm not sure if it's it's one of the same women singers from earlier. I don't know. I thought it was all one singer throughout the album, but apparently she changes.
No, this is actually another new female singer.
Oh, great. Okay, now I just heard
it's Charlene. That was the Charlene K.
Oh, right. Okay. So, new singer again, and she's okay. I don't know. The line just kind of her vocal line just kind of falls flat with me. I feel like it could have been left out.
It wasn't the strongest.
It works in the beginning. I'll say that.
Yeah, I just want more of that tasty hip hop that's being fed to me without my knowledge or consent.
Speaking of the tasty hip hop, you got some nice 8-bit flow music and heavy bass underneath, which is really nice. The 8-bit's pretty good, but then pretty quickly he runs out of rhymes, and then it's just 8-bit because they didn't write any more of the song.
mean, it's already only like a 2.5 minute song.
Yeah,
So
and we only get a minute of rapping and then a minute of 8-bit. So I was a little bit upset about that. I would have preferred them actually writing a few more lyrics.
A few more. I think if it's rap, it's considered bars.
Bars, sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely give it and take it away on this song.
Especially because it was very well written as well. It flowed really well. It was.
Yeah, it was decent rap stylings, but it was gone as soon as it came.
Yeah. Except for the "I'm trapped," just over and over and over.
I do like the fact when he said rewind, rewind, rewind. It kind of did the record scratch rewind sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's all I got to comment on that.
Gotta love the sound effects.
I'm just kind of upset that this song didn't include a second half that was this song but played backwards. I thought that would have really added to it. But not all songs are perfect.
You say that, but
Mind Electric.
You are right. Actually, I take that back. I was gonna say, they don't change the song styling at all in the last minute. No, they do. They just drop out everything but the 8-bit. So. Because the song's only 2 minutes long, it doesn't feel like it's a different song.
It's hard to change it up whenever you barely are used to it in the first place.
Right. But it's a short one for sure.
Yeah.
Jumping
nice
to
little nice little treat in the middle of the album.
Yeah. Jumping to track number 9 then. Time Machine.
Time Machine. If anything else, I can say I respect the song for using the word ornery. In self-fulfilling lyrics. But overall, I am not too big of a fan of this one.
I am not either. Also, ornery doesn't really come out as ornery if you're putting a very breathy filter over the top of it.
It come out as ornery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of clicked me the wrong way on this one. I think it's kind of this weird pairing. The vocals are distorted and robotic on this one, which aren't new on this album, so it's not that exactly. But they were paired with this like very fast-paced drum kit and these super simplistic synth lines.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the song doesn't really do much with it.
There's just not enough going on, I don't think. I will say right at the start. So you start with the hard bass and the vocoder, kind of like a mechanical heartbeat, which is nice. The lyrics are monotone, kind of uninspired, but there's a line like right in the first 30 seconds where he does the first 3 notes of DuckTales. And I kept thinking that DuckTales was going to start playing.
Like, wait, which part of DuckTales?
Life is like, that.
Oh.
The first 3 notes play, and I'm like, huh? And it catches me off every single time.
Yeah, honestly, this song would have hit the top of my list if it just halfway through switched into the DuckTales theme song.
But it's just so basic. There's not a lot going on. There's a synth breakdown at 1:45, which is pretty nice. But then it just launches back into the same track and kind of monotonous vocals. Breakdown is extremely simple as well, basically just repeating the same line twice. And then the last minute of the song, the thing breaks down in quotations like a machine. And then it launches back into the uninspired chorus repeating for 1 minute. Not a fan.
Yeah, it doesn't really do too much. I guess besides saying ornery and having DuckTales in it. I don't know. I think of all the songs on this album, this is one added the least.
Yeah. It is stuck in my head, however, right now. So
it's catchy, but not like in a good way.
Yeah.
Even like Space Station 7, kind of had its own kind of unique take on things. But this one it felt kind of generic, which I think on an album that's kind of clearly built on delivering novelty, that's really the worst offense you can have.
Yeah, and it's not like they were trying to reach a song limit as well. You could have just chopped this. So,
I mean, it's already a decent length album, 42 minutes. So
fair enough. I forgot there's 2 songs almost 7 minutes long on here.
Yeah, two of the songs you can't get rid of. But I didn't have much to say on Time Machine, honestly.
Yeah, this one was not the strongest. Jumping to track number 10 then, Standard Lullaby, which I think is a very nice name.
It's a very nice name for a very nice song. This is actually one of the few songs on the album that just sticks to its guns.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps to this very lullaby-esque, very subdued vocals that aren't distorted. which actually the singer on the song, it's Joe Hawley, who's been the male vocals on most of these tracks. Without any of the distortions or vocal effects, has a very nice voice.
He does.
And I'm kind of makes me a little sad that not more of the songs kind of help bring those to the forefront. I understand why he put the effects on to kind of gel better with the songs, but I think it shows that they are good without them. Yeah, this is a very low key song, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, it certainly fits the lullaby title. It's got some nice harp going on in the background. That's very nice. It's very calming. Throws in some piano after the chorus to keep it fresh, but still very low key. And while it is extremely simple, I don't think we're going to have much to say about this one. It's very good. There's changes, even though it is simple. The musical rhythm underneath constantly evolves, and he's constantly kind of changing his vocal line as well to keep it fresh. And he goes up every once in a while, changes the words, and change of key, and they add some strings at the end as well after another chorus. So it constantly builds, but it doesn't feel like too big until it falls off. It's just the song evolves. It's very, very relaxing.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it builds with the piano and the violin, and I don't know. I also had these kind of slight, like, bittersweet undertones to it, which these slower songs typically do. And I don't know. After all the wacky antics this album kind of throws at you, having one that's kind of is just unlike Time Machine, which was just like normal in a generic, boring way. This one kind of had was a little more. It was subdued intentionally, and blending into that, I think, really added it's like a nice palate cleanser before the final course of this album.
Yes, too bad you probably would have wanted the taste in your mouth from before this. Jumping into track 11, Dream Suite in C major.
That's C spelled S-E-A, as you can see. So, if, like I said, this album's very theatrical. If the opening doesn't give that away, this end section kind of really does, because it brings in a lot of the motifs established throughout this album on various songs, almost like the end song of an actual musical.
And I'm going to Cooper, you're not going to be able to hear this, but I'm going to prep so that when we're done speaking, I can play the end so everybody can hear it. I think we can get away with playing 10 seconds of songs.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get copyright striked on wave sounds, but yeah, like I was saying, this has various samples throughout the catalog of this album. And I think they're introduced in very interesting ways. Like it starts almost exactly like Introduction to the Show, the first song of this album, but it builds upon it, kind of stretching it out into being its own song. I should mention the song's 7 minutes long, so it's got plenty of time to grow these ideas.
Yes, it does.
So Introduction to the Show almost becomes like its own song after the fact within this song. Then it also incorporates elements of Black Rainbows, as well as Space Station 7 with like some French speaking being brought back, all kind of being thrown into this melting pot of all these very disparate elements coming together and gelling quite nicely. I actually have to say, I think you can disagree, but I think the way they kind of the song's like almost built into like sections. The song itself almost is like a 3-act play.
Yeah.
Which I actually really dug conceptually, and I thought the execution was better than you would imagine that being able to be said.
So, I had a different experience with this. Like you were saying, it brings back the start, same opening vocals pulled from the beginning to use at the end, or rather, at least different words sung the same way, accompanied by that nice wind, wispy sound as well. I will say, while I liked the opening a tad bit more, after the opening portion ends, they bring in some staccato strings, and you really don't hear those in music ever, besides orchestra music, so that was very nice. And it kind of gave the impression of flying, which was the lyric. And then they bring in some Christmas bells.
Yeah, they did have some jingly rainbow bells.
And
Which,
then they threw in the French, as Cooper said. It kind of sounded a bit off. But then they still have the bells, and then they bring in some angelic singing, and suddenly it's the middle of winter, or that's what it sounds like anyway. And I'm pretty sure that's not what I was supposed to be getting.
I got less of winter and more like the title suggests, Dream Suite in C major. It's almost like a old Hollywood like dream sequence, right? Like angelic,
I did not get that
like,
at all.
kind of this like ringing bells, staccato violins, this angelic singing, all pairs for almost maybe not dreamlike, but almost a little more whimsical. Very whimsical.
I would agree with you if they played the bells any other way other than the way it is played in every single winter song.
Christmas. I think it's trying to pull less of like the winter aspect and more of the fact that winter songs have a like a very carefree attitude to them typically.
Well, that's what I pulled away from it. Then we hit the 4-minute mark, and the waves are kind of fading out, and it would be the perfect spot to end. Instead, we get the waves continuing, and this guy singing a terrible French impression as a whale.
Oh, I liked this part. I liked it's pretty silly. This whole song's pretty silly overall, but it kind of breaks down to this like kind of waltz melody with this piano underneath it and this kind of very rapid drum beat. And I don't know, I thought it was it was silly, but I thought it was very playful, and I liked it how much character it had.
See, I understand where you're coming from, and I like to think I'm a reasonable man, but if I'm going to forgive someone, you have to give me something. You have to earn that forgiveness, you know? You got to
forgive.
You got to earn my trust back.
Did he insult you personally?
So, we fade out the waves again after the whale. No, we're back to the song that was playing before the whale started singing. Oh, now there's a nice sustained note with kind of bugs kind of chirping and the wind. Oh, this would be a very sweet note to end on. Oh no, we're gonna drop that off, and now we're putting some drum kit and synth in. Oh, better add some vocoding now to the voice. People might think it's the same song. Oh crap, my record's skipping. I still hear waves. Or are they just playing synth constantly? This is a 7-minute song. I wonder what's going to come next now. I hope they really, the one thing I really hope they don't do is cut off in the middle of a note. Oh, they did that. It's so bad. And I'll play the last 8 seconds here so everyone at home can hear it. The first time you can actually hear the music, it is god awful. The end of the song. So you hear that synth, and then that's it. That's right there. That was the end of the song, and it built to a crashing wave, and then just cut off in the middle of all the notes and in the middle of the wave sound.
Sam, I'd have to say that I couldn't disagree with you more on this song. I think, at least to me, you're missing at least what I got the point of this song. Like I said, it's very dreamlike. To me, it's almost like shifting through memories, right? You kind of go from the beginning of the song, which is kind of playing through the album. It's got the bits and pieces from different parts of the album, to this kind of more silly waltz, to the ending is, or I guess the last ending section has a very theatrical, this time is always ending type vibe to it. As it kind of builds down, carries the same character that the album's had so far, with the kind of the robotic singing. And then I actually kind of like the ending, because it almost it kind of reminds me of like waking up.
Are you trying to excuse the fact that they played a single synthesizer note for 1 minute to end the song, Cooper?
Yes, I am. Because I think it's kind of, because it builds to this almost ominous kind of like you're going to the edge and you're just about to wake up, right? Because all the music cuts out except for the synth as the sound of a wave building up about to crash. And right as it hits, that's it. You woken up. It's done.
Well, Shoppies, we had a good run. We made it through several episodes, but sadly, this will be the last episode of Audio Shop Podcast.
Honestly, I thought you would have liked this ending.
It is bad.
I think it's very good.
It is
just because it's unique and it's intentionally cut off. You make it sound like it's
unique.
Like
does not mean good, Cooper.
I'm not saying it means good, but I think it plays well into the theme of this song.
I can forgive the waltz. The waltz is fine. It's kind of like, all right, that's cutesy. but I can't forgive it because what comes after it is just so bad. Like, I understand the want to recap everything that's in the album, and it's so artistic, but there's a point where you got to say, is this song good? And if the answer is no,
say yes.
You should stop.
And I think the answer is yes. I think it's very creative, and it's probably the most creative song in this album. And I give it major points to it.
Don't break your arm jerking off there.
Hey, just because you don't like it doesn't mean I have to not like it.
Nope, those are the rules. That was in the contract you signed.
It's not a contract.
Yeah, you don't remember that when we started the podcast?
Oh, wow. I thought that was a receipt.
Nope, that was your contract.
Oh, boy.
Well, it's never fun if we agree on everything, so...
Yeah, I think we had different experiences with this album, which, given this album in particular, I think it's not too surprising.
Yeah. The ending is very artsy, but they just pull some musical faux pas that I don't think are excusable. So
I think the fact that they pulled those faux pas is what makes it for me.
You see, this artistic piece is on a stretched white canvas. I primed it with some clear liquid primer, and then covering the whole canvas is a thin coat of liquid ochre, and the yellow of the canvas is supposed to symbolize the happiness that one feels at seeing the rising sun. You painted a whole canvas yellow and tried to sell it for thousands of dollars. It doesn't work that way.
I think as long as art can elicit an emotional response from somebody, it's worth it.
I'm not saying it's not art. I'm just saying it's bad art and shouldn't be given the praise that it has been given.
I believe it deserves all its praise and more. But I think the listeners will have to listen to it for themselves to make up their mind. Obviously, it's a bit divisive.
Quite divisive.
Quite divisive.
If you're such a big fan of this song, then Cooper, let's hear your favorite and least favorite songs on the album.
Well, okay. I wrote them down before I even knew the songs, so I'm not doing this to spite you. But I'd say my two favorite songs on this album are White Ball and Dream Suite in C major.
Ooh.
Hey, let me explain. White Ball, like I said, I really dug. It's laid back with the accordion, violin, and bass combination, how they all kind of work together, even though it's a super odd pairing. And then paired with the female and male vocals, it just created this very colorful song.
I agree.
And then I think Dream Suite in C major is just so theatrically rich, and incorporates all the different elements of the album, and kind of leaves you on a kind of ominous note. It goes through a whole array of emotions, and I haven't had many musical experiences that went like this. It made me very much like it.
You know what? You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
Sorry to interrupt your least favorite song, which should be Dream in C major, but it reminds me of those teachers you had in high school. Where you would read English teachers, rather, where you would read a book and they would claim it was much, much deeper than you were picking up on, and that none of the characters were actually real, that this was all a dream built to kind of explain to the character's subconscious why his father beat him when he was a child.
I feel like you're taking quite personal umbrage to this song, Sam.
Well, I am, otherwise it's not entertaining.
I can understand why someone would like it.
We're running a show here, Cooper. We got to keep it fresh, keep it exciting.
I just think personally for me, it brings new things to the table, and it really clicks for me. In terms of least favorite, I'd probably have to say Time Machine. Like we were talking about, fairly new to the album. I think a little simplistic and fast-paced and doesn't really build on itself. And then I guess, can I say the first half of The Mind Electric, just because it's kind of unlistenable? Normally I don't include half a song, but half the song's 3 minutes. So a good portion of this album.
2 minutes 45.
Yeah, okay. But so if you listen to Mind Electric, just skip to the 2:45 mark.
Yeah.
Don't even bother. But yeah. What about you, Sam? What were your favorite and least favorite?
Favorite would either be, well, if you had asked me the first listen, I would have said Island to Thyself. But I think now it's Mind Electric. Not listening to the
second half of Mind Electric.
I'm not listening to the first half of that song every time. It's a very good song, but I want to get to the good song, not listen to everything in reverse. Occasionally I'll listen to it in reverse. It's interesting to hear some of the things that are backwards in the part that's forward, because there's constantly reversing, or even when the vocal line's going forward, sometimes they reverse vowels to kind of give that effect. And then least favorite, for as much as I ragged on Dream Suite in C major, I think I'm going to go with Space Station 7 or Time Machine
as well.
There just wasn't really anything going on. It was a little too simplistic. The artist has shown that they have a very wide array of skills from how much they jumped all over the place, and I feel like the Japanese and French just didn't do enough with it. They were a little bit too simplistic with the accompanying lines to kind of go to the full extent, and the vocal lines were pretty lacking. And then, as we said, for Time Machine, it's just there was nothing going on there. So
yeah, and I'd agree with you there on Space Station 7. That's also not my favorite song of the album.
Yeah. So I'll do the rating system text this week, Coop.
Yeah, sure thing. Go for it.
So we have our for dear listeners that have been with us every step of the way, we have our traditional 1 through 5 rating that you know and love, because Cooper and I are extreme car fans.
Wheels, tires.
Yeah, my great grandfather was a car, in fact.
Oh wow! So I didn't realize you were that'd make you
thrice
an
removed,
8th car.
But,
oh, okay. So not by blood, but
no, he married in. So we have our 1 through 5 rating. 1 out of 5 is scrapyard. Bottom of the barrel. It's junk. Throw it away. Never look at it again. 5 out of 5 showroom. Take it home. Make it your husband, kind of thing. Top of the pile. Everybody wants it. Listen to this right now. Otherwise, you're a loser. So we often do high and low added onto that to kind of give a bit more wiggle room, because 1 through 5 is a bit tight. So you wanna give your rating here first, Coop?
Yeah. So like I was saying, this album's not without its flaws. As unique of an experience it is, like you were saying, uniqueness, itself isn't necessarily a positive quality. But I think this album really does enough interesting things to be worth the price of admission, even if some of the experiments backfire a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I'd wholly recommend it to someone. So I'm going to give it a low, like new. So definitely not perfect. Teetering almost into like fixer-upper territory, just because of some of the flaws in the album are definitely noticeable. But yeah, this is just such a unique project with so many different. It's definitely got the kitchen sink approach, which could spell disaster for some albums. But I think it manages to pull it together in a nice theatrical package that makes it worth giving a listen to. And I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. I'm glad you turned me on to it, Sam.
Yeah, and I hadn't fully formed my opinion before you, Cooper, so I will say this. Yours impacted me a little bit. I was going to say a high fixer-upper, but taking into account the number of times I listened to this album of my own free will before I was like, hey, we should review this, I'm going to say I'm going to give it a like new as well. High or low, I'm not sure. I think it probably deserves high, granted how many times I listened to it before I recommended that we actually review the album. It really got its hooks into me. But it might not be your favorite album. You might never listen to it again, but I definitely think it's worth at least one listen. You don't even have to listen to it in order. There's no reason to listen to this album in any semblance of an order other than keeping start of the show and Isle Into Thyself together at the start, and then listening to Sweet Dreams in C major at the end. Anything else in between can kind of
you can just put that on shuffle. It really doesn't lead into
matter.
each other.
It's a good album though. I definitely recommend a listen. It's very good.
Yeah, it's one that's hard to describe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see why this has a bit of an underground cult following.
Does it? I didn't see that.
At least the tally I mean, it has to have something because it's got a couple. Miracle Musical has a couple 100,000 monthly listens.
Oh, those are
So on Spotify at least. So some people are listening to it at least, if not many.
Every single device I own has been playing it on loop since I found them.
They're all you.
Yep, every single one.
So, yeah, I think it's worth giving it a look into it and forming your own opinion on it.
Yeah,
this might be something that you don't like at all, and that's okay. But if it clicks for you, you might find yourself coming back to it again and again.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have a spare tire for this week, Cooper? Jumping to the last segment of the show, or past 2 weeks, rather, yes. I should say.
So so one I listened to was the actual new Lana Del Norman freaking Rockwell. Won't drop the hard F-bomb on this. Not sure how many Lana Del Rey heads there are out there. I think this is a very lovey-dovey kind of sad boy hours album at times. Very emotional, very much about love hurting you and getting back up there. For a Lana Del Rey album, I think it was it hit the nail on the head. It was very nice to listen to. On the opposite of the spectrum, if I can throw in 2 suggestions since we skipped last week.
Go for it.
I'd also recommend the new Earth Gang album, Mirrorland. So very opposite in the spectrum, but Earth Gang is a hip hop outlet. They literally just released this album, so it's fresh off. I was just listening to it, and they've got a very new school meets old school vibe. I know they've been compared a little bit to Outkast. I wouldn't go that far, but kind of more funkier, very some melodic hip hop beats, and just some interesting character being brought over to this hip hop outfit. And I think their new album is very excellent. You should give it a look.
I'll check it out. And I don't have 2 since I had one for last week and one for this week. The one for this week was this album, which is why I suggested it. But last week I had another album that I was checking out, but only one song was actually good. It's called Venus Ambassador by Brian Scary.
What was it called?
Venus Ambassador.
Venus Ambassador.
Venus, the planet. And it's what is it about? Brian Scary and the Shedding Tears from the album Flight of the Knife. And this song, very good. Listen to the album, not very good. I was not that big of a fan. I couldn't really get through it. Venus Ambassador has almost like I liked it because it sounded like Electric Light Orchestra. That's why I liked it. Very, very similar styles with the electronic and the orchestral themes, and very similar vocal style, and kind of the out there themes. Not so much Sad Boy Hours that ELO is, but it's very good. Listened to it quite a bit. Wouldn't suggest the album. I tried listening to it, and it's not very good. So
yeah, well, sometimes they're hit and miss.
Yeah. I was really hoping that the whole album would be like that song, but it definitely was not. But for this one, it was a good thing, because Island to Thyself was what dragged me in, and then everything else was like, you know what, maybe we should actually review this one. So
nice. Well, I think this was a excellent review this week, Sam.
Yeah, I think it went quite well, even if we did have some disagreements about you being incorrect.
I mean, we had disagreements, but then we gave it the same rating, so
yeah.
I think it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Our dislikes and likes kind of balance themselves out equilibrium-wise.
Exactly. Also, my the albums need to be an earworm in my head for the past week, so
definitely sinks itself in.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening. If you are listening to our VODs on YouTube, you can find us live Sundays at 8. Otherwise, Mondays at the tweeted time, depending on whether or not Cooper or I cancels, at twitch.tv/audio_shop. And if you would like to follow us on Twitter, I'm going to shut that out, Coop.
Yeah, you can follow us at AudioShop14 on Twitter. To keep you updated on what we'll be listening to and the times that we're going to go live.
And then if you are listening to this live and would like to hear anything in the past, or you have just caught the end of this and you think, hey, these guys are kind of assholes, but I'd like to hear more, you can check out our YouTube audio shop. It's got the same logo as the Twitch, and that is where we store all of the past broadcasts for future listening. We also have a SoundCloud account, but there are only 3 on there because I didn't realize that you had to pay to put things on SoundCloud. So there's 3 hours worth of content up there if you would like to listen to them on the go, a bit more data friendly. There are some of the older ones, but maybe I'll rotate them in and out at request. So
yeah. So thank you all for listening this week.
yeah. And if you have any suggestions, you can leave them down on our Twitch. There's a little suggestion box. They're starting to build up, so maybe we should look at doing one of those next week, unless you had one you really wanted to review, Cooper.
I don't know. We can always look at them. Go through the list.
Yeah, we can talk about that off the air. But
of course.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and as the Japanese would say, "Ichu station Ruby."
What's that mean, Coop?
I think it just means space station.
Oh. Okay. Well, thank you, and we'll see you later, shoppies.
See ya, shoppies.
Goodbye.